And I have a funny story about that band, because it was also, I think, the first time I ever appeared live. And the first song was Cocaine by Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous. I got up on stage. It was like a backyard party, so we were up on this deck, and I completely blanked out on that bass riff. And I just couldn't do it.
And which band was this? This was the cover band?
The very first time I was ever on stage, that cover band. I don't even remember the name of the band. And I stood there for half the song while the band played, and they were looking at me with mean faces, and I was just like...
Which didn't help.
I was basically like in shock. I couldn't... And then... Finally, I just took a deep breath, and it came back to me, and then I was fine the rest of the set. But that's how nervous I got the first time I ever did a gig, which, unlike Reis, who was just like, took to it like a fish in water, he didn't just have that stumbling block.
Welcome to Champaign is Also a Band podcast, bonus episode, We Are Family. In this bonus episode, I talk with Reis DeSantis and Rick Sticks DeSantis. I have to say, I didn't know where this was going to go, but I hope you just enjoy the stories that they tell about how they started playing music and then how they ended up in the Champaign-Urbana music scene and what they love about the Champaign-Urbana music scene. So without further ado, let's just listen and hear their stories. Reis, welcome on the show, and Sticks, welcome on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you for coming out, and I really appreciate everyone that makes the trip out here, because it's
fun. It's exciting to be out in the country. I don't get an opportunity to be out here very often.
Let's see. Whose list should we start with first? I mean... Let's see. We've got, how about we start with Reis, who is the son. So we have a list of bands, all local Champaign bands, if I remember correctly. They're all they were located here. So we've got Saint Psyche. We've got the First Annuals, Bad Columbus, Kirby Jays, and the Ravenettes. We have Kassius, and finally Ghoul Jr. So which is a current band. I think all the Ghoul Jr. is the current band, and the rest are no longer, unfortunately, in existence. Although there's definitely people that are still of those groups that are still making music and
right. I mean, like
bands
when I'm needed, and even I play in a band called Power of Dusk 2 times this summer, strictly just because they asked me to fill in on an instrument. And those 2 shows, I mean, I played a separate instrument. First time was drums, second time was guitar. And with Ghoul Jr., they have Elliot Ross, who's been a great fill-in. Well, I mean, not a fill-in. He is the drummer now. So I've come back and I've been the fill-in since he's still a student. So when he's gone away up to the suburbs, which is where he's from, and I go back to where I'm from for the summer, and they're just like, hey, Reis, we
works out perfect.
We want to play some shows. You want to play the songs you wrote with us?
They have a big show coming up, actually September 1st, I believe, at the Loose Cobra. On the Dry Look, and
I do.
I did
Tractor Kings. I'm really looking forward to the Tractor Kings. Are probably at this time my favorite Champaign-Urbana band.
And later in that month of September, they have another show in Chicago. Still being worked out who's on the bill, but that will be
exciting. My
personal favorite venue in Chicago. It'll be at the Beat Kitchen. And anyone who's been to the Beat Kitchen is just like, what? That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
excellent. And then I guess Sticks. Yes. Let's see. You have quite the extensive list, and some of them started off in, I believe that was in Boston. Yeah, was where you were.
That's right.
So we've got No Vacancy.
That was the first few bands were my hometown, Milford, Massachusetts. So
all right,
about 40 miles from Boston.
and then you just gigged around that area and that kind of thing.
Worcester, Massachusetts. Is the Maniputics next?
No, you've got your cover band that you were telling about earlier.
See, No Vacancy actually never did a show. Oh, does that count? But we practiced for
why not?
2 months.
What? Then I would have twice as many bands.
Well, that was the first time I ever got in a room and somebody say, "Hey, let's do a band."
I've been in bands.
Maybe we did do a show. I don't remember, but it felt like a band to me because we practiced and I had this really cool girl, Lisa Bertnazzi, who was in my high school singing, and it felt like a band to me. Whether we did a show or not, I don't know. And then I did that cover band, and then the Maniputics was with some of my best friends from my hometown. Nice. We were doing a lot of shows in Worcester, Massachusetts.
All right. So and then Lou Miami and the Cosmetics.
Lou Miami and the Cosmetics. Lou Miami is a Boston Rocks icon. The guy's legendary in the Boston, New York, New England. Yeah, you got to Google Lou to really understand what I'm talking about. I actually roadied with them before they asked me to do some shows with them. It was sort of like a glam, alt indie band with emphasis on glam. And shortly after I joined the band, he changed the name of the band, which could have, I guess, been on the list, to The Neon Desert. And we went all country. What? And we adopted a pedal steel player. And we started singing country original songs. And the highlight of that was in 1987, we opened up for the Cramps.
The Cramps.
At one of Boston's biggest rock clubs, and there was 2,500 people in the crowd. So for me, that was pretty exciting. And I got to meet members of the Cramps, Lux Luthor and Poison Ivy. Specifically Poison Ivy, I'm a big fan of. But that was exciting. Unfortunately, that was the last project that Lou Miami had put together before he moved to LA, where he got strung out on heroin, and unfortunately, God rest his soul, he overdosed and we lost Lou.
Oh my.
Yeah, it saddens me to even think about it because he was really such a great guy.
Well, that's been 3 bands.
Yeah. The De Niro's.
Do you want a story about every band? Or just
I was just going to
go ahead and list them off, and then I just thought we could just pick things. I do feel like I feel like the collective knowledge between everybody in this room could probably several episodes.
Yeah, we'll get back
probably.
So it was let's see, we were at the De Niro's, and Inhale Mary was which
was the first band that I actually fronted.
All right. Were you playing bass at that time while singing as well, or?
Exactly.
Okay.
Singer-songwriter, bass player.
Gotcha. And King Moon, Razor, Guns of Elvis, and now it looks like
San Francisco. Correct.
Yeah, you've this is 91, and you've moved to San Francisco. I'm pushing the Ghirardelli really hard.
Oh yeah,
here, but
San Francisco's famous chocolate tier.
So this is also where I come in San Francisco.
All right.
That's right. I took his mother on our very first date was at Ghirardelli.
Oh, really?
It really was. That's where we went, and she had the best time. And I'm like, I had such a good date with this woman I had just met named Kelly. I thought she was absolutely amazing. She is amazing to this day, and what a great memory. Ghirardelli, if you've never visited it, it's a great place to.
I've heard all the.
I'm gonna dig in right now, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what you specifically said, dark chocolate with nuts.
Yeah,
I was hoping to get the little squares with that, but unfortunately they didn't have a bunch of where I went.
We would usually buy this anyways.
Oh, all right. So, sounds good.
So you did it. Did it, Sven. Intense dark.
He loves dark.
Okay,
his endorphins
that's good. That's all right.
Well, I'm all about the endorphins, I guess.
Yeah, the runner, and I think, didn't you even run the night of Svenstock?
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you hear that? He
was his thing. So I don't know. I do that a lot actually. I'll run really late at night, and I'm not keen on telling most people because it's just I don't know. It's just a weird thing. So I just don't. But I
can cut that out. It's all good.
No. It's not a big deal.
I think it's.
I just tell the moment. But I think I just said that because I was turning down a beer. I'm like, oh, I would usually, but I have to go run later, and I didn't want any of the IPA
drinking. Oh yeah, running. Don't.
But yeah, I did. I got back home, and it was like midnight at the time, and I went on my 45-minute run. I think it was.
Champaign is also a band podcast is proud to support Exile on Main Street. Exile on Main Street, located in the old train station building at 100 North Chestnut Street in downtown Champaign, has been helping to build record collections since 2004. Carrying a wide array of new and used LPs, CDs, and video games. Exile on Main Street has something for just about any music enthusiast and old-school gaming devotee. Exile also hosts regular free live music shows on its stage, so be sure to check out their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for the up-to-date details on the next upcoming event. Open 7 days a week, they can be reached by phone at 217-398-MAIN. That's 217-398-6246. I guess I'll get back to this. So you had, we were at Guns of Elvis and now Super Friends.
Which was, we just basically got a new drummer and changed the name.
From Guns of Elvis became Super Friends?
When we got a new drummer, but the guitar player and I stayed together, and I like Guns of Elvis, but those guys teamed up on me and wanted to change the name to Super Friends, and at first I was against it because I just thought that I didn't like it. It was like, that's a comic book, but they thought it would be awesome, so they kind of just outmuscled me, and we went with it. It seemed to work pretty well, actually. People kind of liked it.
I respectfully disagree. I mean, Super Friends is a great name, but Guns of Elvis was... I might name my band Guns of Elvis now.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
All right.
Well, the way we got that name was Johnny was on his way back from New York, where he was from, back to California, and he got back into the studio, and he was telling me this story about how when he was in some part of Nevada, he went to some flea market, and this guy was trying to sell him these guns, and he was saying, "These are the guns of Elvis. You should buy these guns." And I'm like, that would be a great name for the band.
That's awesome.
Mark it down.
Yeah, that's how we got that name.
So Creeps in Exile, also in San Francisco, and then White Trash Debutantes,
who I went to Japan with. That was one of the highlights of my career.
Nice. And was that also when you were in San Francisco?
That was in San Francisco. Now they're still playing. They're based out of Los Angeles, and Ginger Coyote, who is the lead singer, she is Miss White Trash Debutantes. She has a very famous punk rock magazine called Punk Globe Magazine. And nice. I recently saw on Facebook where she just sold like her 6 millionth copy. So they're having a huge party out in California for her. And I sent a lot of love. I just really love Ginger. That's somebody else that folks should maybe, look her up on the internet and see what she's done for punk rock music. So to be in her band and be able to tour Japan with her was really, really fun and quite an honor.
Excellent. And now we come to your current band, which is Bristle, and that's in Champaign. So it looks like you took a little bit of time off before you hopped back into Bristle.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah. When Reis,
someone got in the way.
Yeah, well, when Reis was born, I was actually still playing in the Creeps in Exile, but his mother felt like it would be better for her and for him if she relocated to Illinois, because she had her family was from this part of the country. So I gave her my blessing, knowing in my heart that within a year I would move here as well, because I wasn't going to miss my son's life. I mean,
right.
No one wants that, right?
Yeah.
When I got here, he was 3. And then when he was 7, he was, he didn't like to listen to people. See, he wanted to do his own thing, and he was kind of a wild child. So we felt like maybe it was time for him to come live with his dad. So when he was 7, I had the honor of obtaining custody of Reis, and he moved to Champaign, where I had settled, whereas him and his mom were in Paris, Illinois. Yeah, it was like single father time, and it didn't leave any time for a band.
I gotcha.
So that was, let's see, what year was that when you were 7?
2002.
2002 or so, when he moved in with me.
Well, the math checks out.
Yeah.
That's good.
yeah, middle of 2nd grade. And I remember in the middle of the school year relocating to a new school.
And did you encourage Reis to like play instruments at all? Or did that just kind of happen? Was it just
no?
And you guys didn't play together either at all?
Well, he wasn't. I think my mother had one Christmas got him a keyboard, but so he was tooling around with that a little bit. But in 6th grade, I just thought, I just had a feeling that this kid would be a great drummer. And I didn't have a lot of money then. Matter of fact, I was pretty broke. My business really hadn't kicked in yet. I knew that I had left an old drum set back in Massachusetts with a friend of mine, Bob Stone. I let him borrow it, and I never got it back. One of those deals. Like 14 years later.
Yeah, I still have it.
I didn't even have his phone number
that was
anymore.
my Stoney impression.
He's one of my good friends, but we had lost contact. There was no Facebook then. And somehow I managed to come up with his parents' number, and I called this number, and his mother actually answered the phone.
Just like childhood.
And I said, is this the Stone residence? And she said, yes, it is. I'm like, well, I'm a friend of your son Bob's from Dean Junior College in Franklin, Massachusetts. And she's like, oh, Bobby. And I'm like, yes, can you give me his number? Anyways, I got in touch with Bob and said, do you still have my old drum set? And he's like, well, yeah, I do. I'm like, well, I'm coming back to Massachusetts this summer, and I'd like to take it back to Illinois because my son wants to play drums. And so I didn't have to go out and buy a set. We went to Bob's house that summer and loaded up the drum kit.
Yeah.
And we took it back to our little condo on South Mattis Avenue. And he just started playing drums every single day after school. He'd come home in the 6th grade and immediately start playing drums. And the way how he really got started was...
I was pretty good at the game Rock Band. So it all started with video games, you know.
Exactly.
This whole being a musician
Xbox.
thing. I was.
He was very good at that game.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty good at every instrument, but everyone, I guess, kind of took to the guitar when we would play. I guess because Guitar Hero was already a thing,
right?
And I guess I just really improved at the Rock Band drums themselves. So what I would do is, how the Rock Band drums work is you just have 4 pads. And if you know how Guitar Hero works, is that you have the colored notes, which come to the, the bar where you have to hit them, where it's calibrated. And the drumming's just the same thing, except you just hit the pads of the color it is. So on the far left, you have, going from left to right, you have red, yellow, blue, green. And typically the red would be the snare drum and the yellow would be the hi-hat. And your green would be the crash cymbal, blue would be the ride. And then when you tune fills and stuff, the yellow and blue, which are the two in the middle, would be just the toms.
The rack toms.
Yeah.
So after a while, you can really kind of catch on to that. Oh, and then obviously, it has the kick pedal too, which is easy, which is just like a big orange bar, which just came in between.
Oh, yeah.
And so knowing that, it was very easy to transition over to a real drum kit. And sometimes as a way of learning a song really fast, I would just let the track play on Rock Band, but play an actual drum set. So I'm on this actual drum set we got from Bob Stone in my room, and just watching the track on this video game, and there's a yellow, so I'm hitting this over crossover. I'm hitting the hi hats of the yellow, and when the red would come, I'd hit the snare.
Wow.
So I mean, I don't know if just catching on to drums quick was just in my bones, or if that was a shortcut.
Well, Rock Band.
If others,
we would go to Best Buy when he was like 8 or 9, and a crowd would gather. I mean, because Best Buy would set up like a drum set.
Yeah.
Yeah, to test out Rock Band for yourself.
You could try it, and a big crowd would gather because most people didn't do the drums very well. Well, anyway, so I got him the drum set, and I, would be in another room, and within even a week, he'd play 6 nights, 6 times every day. So after even just 6 or 7 days, I was like, man, the kid got a lot better in 1 week.
Yeah, and I
just kept getting really good. He never had a drum lesson. And I just, after a few months, because at first maybe I was like, oh, this is going to be a long, arduous process of me having to wear earplugs. But within like a month, I thought it was good. And it sounded good. And I didn't even mind listening.
Yeah, and it wasn't 6th grade I got the set. It was the end of the summer in between 7th and 8th grade. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really? Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
I could have sworn it was 6th grade.
But. No, because I remember a year later is when I joined St. Psyche.
Yeah, but what about when did you do the talent show at Edison Middle School?
Yeah, that was 8th grade. Yeah, that was I guess technically, that was my first performance.
He did this talent show.
So this is 8th grade for you as St. Psyche? Or
so I joined
freshman year,
right after 8th grade, right when the summer started is when I joined St. Psyche's, because they saw I was posting these cover videos on Facebook, right, of me playing like songs from Rock Band and other songs too. I mean, I wasn't just limited to that, but it was Christian Wilkie. He wanted to jam with me. Christian Wilkie actually just played Sven. He played in with this is a stick up.
Yeah.
Back then he was in a band that when I was involved with St. Psyche, we played a lot of shows together called the Band Geeks. Joey Butler drummed for the Band Geeks, actually.
I remember that name, but
they had a record that came out, and it got stuck in my truck CD player, and I've never been able to listen to a CD since. To this
but
day,
you can listen to that one all you want, right?
After 13 years,
I remember that was the maddest. That was the maddest Park EP, and they were stupid, and they put like paper on the actual CD.
Oh yeah,
instead of just like making a graphic design printed on it, they
put a label.
They put like a sticky label on it,
stuck in my CD
and the CD
player
didn't appreciate that.
Oh no! Well, and of course, I'm sure in a regular CD player it would have been okay, but in a car,
this is one that had like a conveyor belt too. It like sucked it in, like. Oh,
okay.
Anyways,
I'm really big on the sound
memories.
effects.
Oh my gosh! Well,
So that's really. It was just me just in my bedroom just making these
jamming
drum covers, and I would go back and like edit them and then have them have a fade in, and I would make sure like you could still hear the drums enough to not just the because I'd go back and dub in the audio track itself to the song I was covering.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't like I wouldn't like mute my drum playing either. I would try to make a good balance of whatever sounded good. But then I think just Kirby Jays was really good friends with Christian and all that crew, and and there was already a drummer. Fun fact, I'll say now, all those bands you listed off that I was in, I always joined while the band was already a thing. So I was either replacing somebody or I was like a new addition as an instrument.
Except for Ghoul Jr.
Okay. No, Ghoul Jr. was already, or they had a different name because they were from the band Lotto, and they already had a show or two before I joined. Yeah, Dylan, who was
played guitar,
former guitarist of Ghoul Jr. He played drums.
Oh,
and I forget what they were called. They would know, obviously, but because Ghoul Jr. formed.
Well, hopefully somebody in the band would know. It's just like, wait, I thought you knew.
Yeah. It was like a name and the Vincents. It was like
rings a bell.
Like Carlos Monti and the Vincents or something like that.
So I texted Ghoul Jr. and it turns out that it was Jan Michael and the Vincents.
And that was their band lotto name. And then they did another show, I think. And then they asked me to come play. We're getting off track in the order here, but they asked me to maybe come play guitar because they wanted a second guitar player. And when we were jamming, I think Dylan and I just both knew that Dylan was a better guitar player than I was, and I was a better drummer than he was, so we just switched, and it worked out a lot better.
Champaign is also a Band podcast is proud to support Jubilee Cafe. Jubilee Cafe is a free weekly meal program at Community United Church of Christ, 805 South 6th Street in Champaign, Illinois. Jubilee Cafe serves a home-cooked meal from 5 to 6:30 each Monday. Their mission is to feed hungry people by cooking healthy, delicious meals and by serving their guests restaurant-style with servers waiting on tables. Jubilee Cafe is open to anyone who cares to eat with them. Because food insecurity among students is so high, they serve students as well as others in and around the Champaign-Urbana community who struggle with hunger. Meals are free to all and will be served each Monday evening. Located in the accessible lower level of the building at 6th and Daniel Streets in Champaign. For more information on the meal or how to volunteer, go to the Jubilee Cafe CUCC Facebook page or email them at jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. That's jubilee.cafe@community-ucc.org. Sticks. Tell me a little bit about like your impression of the Champaign-Urbana music scene. Like, what's your favorite thing? What's your least favorite thing?
Champaign-Urbana, Urbana. To me, I think of them as one city. For a small city, and I have spent most of my adult life in larger cities and being involved in the underground music scenes in those cities. I'm impressed with the size and the amount of bands that's going on here. Unfortunately, it seems like at this very moment there seems to be, well, we had a few really key live venues close.
Right.
But when Matt Talbot came along and opened up the Loose Cobra, so we've had some good things come our way. But it's a very vibrant scene.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really great music. I think would you say it's mostly indie bands in this city?
I'd say everyone's pretty independent. For a while, people were even saying how like there's the Champaign sound. I haven't heard that in a while, but back in like 2009 through like 2012, the bands around then. I think a big example of that was like Hank kind of took it on, and like Rusalka. People were throwing like the Champaign sound over at them. That term at least.
Seems like there's been
kind of more
1,000 bands have come and gone.
There's kind of a resurgence. I feel like
Braid, another one.
Oh yeah. Well, and I was going to say a little bit more leaning towards some noise, kind of experimental sounds and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely, like the shoegaze kind of thing.
Yeah,
it is. It's the Champaign sound kind of is this like shoegaze / punk / I don't know what to call it because
who cares what to call it? You know what I mean? I mean,
true.
like I guess like, you know, all these like genres and like
subgenres.
Yeah, it's helping us communicate, but I mean, you know, like it can you just got to hear it. And then whatever your interpretation of it is your own subjective interpretation.
And I would certainly second the lack of venues happening, and actually that seems to be a pretty common answer from most people, although I feel like it pushes the DIY scene to be more
thriving.
I feel like
it's coming back. It comes. And this is what I've just talking to people who have been around for a while here, and what I've come to notice, and they're just kind of solidifying what I thought. It definitely comes in waves. The first show I ever went to was the JFK House. I don't know if you remember that.
I'm not even aware of that one.
And then Error House was one of these. The Dude Ranch.
Oh my gosh.
American Footballs, what was their house called?
I don't think it was a venue. I think they just lived there.
And then put it on an album cover.
Yeah, put it on an album cover.
Yeah.
When I discovered that band, I didn't even know that like they were from Champaign for a while. You know?
Yeah.
And that just piqued my interest even more.
And some of their live recordings are from the original Blind Pig,
Yep.
and it's pretty amazing. So I guess, Reis, do you have anything to say about the music scene in general, and like if there's anything that you think of as...
Well, I mean, since this was where I spent, my youth, I didn't move from city to city and then come here in my 30s. So it was a lot more formative for me.
Yeah.
I think before I got involved in the DIY scene, I didn't really know anything about even like the phrase what a music scene was. I didn't really know anything about that. I think I'd been to the Canopy Club like twice. First show I ever went there was in 6th grade. Dad took me to see Guar.
Oh, that was
nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was a fun show.
Because I know Guar from back in the day, and they would come to my loft in Boston after their shows and hang out and party all night long. So when I saw they were coming to Champaign, I'm like, he's in 6th grade. Perfect time to turn him on to shock rock.
Nice.
And we sat up in the balcony where it was sort of safe and we wouldn't get blood spewed on us.
I'm sorry. Actually, I mean, like I was in bands before I went my first house show. So I guess my introduction was with Saint Psyche and just practicing in a basement with other people in Saint Psyche.
At Kirby J's house.
At Kirby J's house.
Yeah.
And
have to go pick him up.
And I mean, like the first show we ever did was like by Dallas and Company. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. In front and back of Cubby Knox's father's studio.
They called it the Kids Are All Right Fest, or Christian Wilkie liked to call it Cock Fest. That what do you call it?
I remember that show, a hot summer day.
Yeah. Bands like Blood for the Masses were active then and played.
Was Caleb in that band? Yeah. We saw him play in his most recent band this past July.
War of Ages.
At
Audio Feed
out at the Champaign County Fairgrounds with Ghoul Jr. paid
Jim Eisenmeter's festival. Audio Feed.
Yeah.
And then Bristle played, so Reis and I both got to play the same festival, which was kind of fun.
I was going into high school, so it was the summer in between middle and high school, and they were all going into their junior year. Everyone else who was in Saint Psyche, so I was sort of just the incoming freshman, I guess.
Baby in the house.
Yeah, I didn't really talk all that much. I was just back there playing drums, but they liked what they were hearing, and it was a lot of fun for me. The IMC was by far the most popular venue. That crowd, that like high school crowd back then, we all played with, and even with your mother, we played so many shows with them. Like I said earlier, the Band Geeks, we played a lot with.
The first annual.
Holy cow! I must have seen. I think I saw that. It was before Joey had joined. An Evening with Your Mother, right? And it was just the three of them, and then but Band Geeks played that night, right? At IMC.
They played a lot of shows together, and as Dad just said, the band that followed Saint Psyche. So Saint Psyche only lasted like the fall of 2010, and then just fell apart. That's just how it goes. And not long after, the second semester of school started, and I decided to take up as an elective music survey with Centennial Choir director Marion Wyatt. Was teaching that, and I had Nate McDuffie was in there with me. He was a senior, I was a freshman, and him and I just kind of hit it off. He was really into Sublime and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I think that was like our first conversation, just sitting in the back of the choir room, because he had like a Sublime T-shirt on or something, and I'm just like I'm gonna talk to a senior. I'm gonna make friends with the senior, being a freshman. And I was already kind of jamming with this kid from St. Joe. His name was Will Barker, but him and I were just jamming. I would go over to St. Joe. He had a drum set there, and he was pretty good at guitar, and he already had songs, and he had a big pedal board, and I would just kind of jam with the songs, and we actually played the first annual show was with the other bassists, because first annuals, like I said, was already a band, like all the other bands.
Yeah.
And so they already had a bassist and a drummer, but Will wasn't getting along with the drummer, so I started jamming with him, and I think just the bass player just got busy. And so this kid who I met in Music Survey, Nate, when I found out he played bass, I'm like, you should come jam with me and this other guy. And Will was also a senior at St. Joseph Ogden High School, and so he came over to jam, and the vibe was right. And we moved our rehearsal space from St. Joe to Nate McDuffie's attic
in Champaign,
off of Green, and here in Champaign, Green Street. And we have a lot of good memories of and the winner of the 2010-2011 school year of we had a lot of snow days my freshman year of high school, and we would just spend those snow days just up there in the attic, just working on songs. Once Nate joined the band, we just wrote a lot of new songs. And since we were all high schools, and I was really involved with that high school scene I was with Saint Psyche, and the members in Saint Psyche were still, going to shows and everything too. Again, primarily just at the IMC. I mean, that was the hangout spot.
Wow.
Sometimes places like the Iron Post too, but with IMC, it was just hard to find all ages venues. That was just a thing back then, and. Yeah, the first annuals got involved, and we played a lot of shows with the Band Geeks and a lot of shows with An Evening with Your Mother, and a few shows with both of them at the same time. So who knows? Maybe you saw the first annuals.
It's very likely.
I was probably there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the first annuals lasted for a while. In the midst of playing with the first annuals, again, just mutual friends within the IMC high school scene. There was this band called Bad Columbus, and it was just Patrick Shea, Max Dragoo. They're just two kids who were actually my age and not old as seniors, who were just a duo. Max played guitar and Patrick played ukulele, and they were over at Urbana High School, and they were prospective about maybe just having a drummer. Mm-hmm. And I just jammed with them, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try something new. So instead, I had a very minimalist kit. Just had a floor tom, snare, bass drum, and a cymbal, like really up high, that I kind of had to like reach up for just to be weird and goofy. I mean, I would play with the hi-hat sometimes, but when we recorded, I didn't. You ever use the hi-hat?
I want to tell you that we just can't be friends. Want to tell you that we just can't be friends. Want to tell you that we just can't be friends. Want to tell you that.
But so that was like all in the midst of like just beginning high school for me. So just being in this community where we're all expressing ourselves and supporting each other already. Granted, it wasn't a big community. There was just there was always like the same people going to the same shows,
right?
And it wasn't until I went to that show, and at freshman year at the JFK house till I realized, this is a whole other community now, and then there are like guys getting loud music in shows. I mean, in houses.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing. You could play in someone's basement.
Best memories of your
because that was like kind of like that was really new and exciting, and just polarizing from what I was used to. It's just like guys who are way older than me, just in the basement, just drinking beer and like moshing and like hanging on the pipes in the basement. I mean, like the crowd, like at the house show scene back there was crazy. People got comfortable really fast.
Really?
Yeah. But again, with that too, it was a lot of the same
Must have
people.
had higher ceilings, though, right?
So yeah, you were
because I was going to say
knocking your head,
blips and shits. It's always like,
and especially over at Vince's place. You like I hit my head and Kasha to Sasha all the time on this big pipe they have, and before you walk in the door, I probably will hit again.
That's why I can't go to those venues. I'm too tall.
But at Air House, Nathan Landoy.
Although I do like blips and shits.
Nathan Landoy, who started Air Records here in Champaign, he's been a huge part of been a huge contributor to the Champaign-Urbana music scene. Who relocated to Asheville now, which is where I'm at. But he had a house first. It's called Error House. Okay. And he would have shows in his basement. And there was another house called Dan Aykroyd. Kyle Long of the band Easter. You remember Easter?
Yeah.
He had a house called Garfield's Garden. There were a lot of options back there. We had a smorgasbord.
Back then.
Yeah. And so that and again, like I was still just trying to, like, you know, figure out who I was and everything, and
right.
And I don't know, I was connecting with people at shows, and just the more kids who were more artistic, connecting with them more than I was, I guess, at my high school, because. You know, when you were playing these shows and even just going and watching these shows, it became this like release of just all this like built up teenage angst, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and it was definitely, it made life kind of just free flow and more fun, I suppose. So for me, that was more formative. I feel like that definitely had a huge influence on me.
I was going to ask you about the formation of Bristle, like how that all happened.
Well, let's see. I think Reis finally reached an age where I felt like he was going out and going to these house shows, and he was independent, and I just felt like, okay, I can start going out again, and just got a little bit, certainly got more involved with, at first, just going out and checking out Champaign-Urbana bands. My favorite band, even still, in the top 3 or 4 bands of Terminus Victor.
Oh yeah,
really a heavy rock band that I have a lot of respect for that band and their songwriting and their musicianship. But no, just started going out in general for, you know, enjoying a lot of the local music. And there was probably maybe it's a smaller city. Maybe I was starting to get a little bored, and I thought, you know what? I need to create some excitement in my life. Yeah. And I knew I had the ability to sing and write songs. I had done it in the past. To me, it was just, it's a no-brainer. It's really not that hard to do for me. These songs sort of come out of me, and I had the background. So, and I knew there was a thriving music scene here. So, you know, even though I was in my 50s, I didn't let that, you know, deter me. And again, I think it was mainly that I wanted to create some excitement. I missed being on stage. I took at that point, it would have probably been 15, 16 years since I had been on stage. So I had some new songs that I had been, I'll sit in the living room with an acoustic guitar, and probably a couple years leading up to me deciding to form a band, I had wrote a few new songs, and as a songwriter, when I hear a song or a part of a song that I feel like is appealing, I just have this, something is driving inside of me that I have to bring it to the people. Yeah. I mean, there are some musicians I think that can get a ton of joy sitting in their own bedroom, strumming their guitar and writing songs, but unless I bring it to the people, that's sort of like the real test. And especially if I think it's good. I mean, it's just, what good is it if no one hears it, kind of thing. So my first venture into the Champaign-Urbana music scene, I actually didn't even have a rock guitar player. It was myself, a viola player, and a drummer. And of course I play electric bass. And we worked up a bunch of my originals. His name was Nathaniel Dixon, who actually played with quite a few Champaign-Urbana bands while he was playing even in my band. But it was really obviously a pretty cool experience it was my first time playing with a violinist or a viola player.
And he would play electric.
He played electric viola and no guitar at all. It was just a 3-piece viola, bass, and drums. And we did one show
like a distortion pedal.
At the I4C, which Reis and a bunch of his friends came to, which was really awesome. And I thought we sounded amazing. And we were called Simple Biscuit People. Unfortunately, the very next day...
It wasn't on the list.
That's right. I forgot. It's another.
Well, I mean, it became Bristle, but you still had other bands that were the same band.
What happened is that drummer got engaged and basically quit the band shortly thereafter. So after working on these songs for over 2 months, we did a show and then he quit. So it's like, oh man, So a few people had mentioned to me, some of the older cats on the scene, about this dude named Mike Prasad, who was supposedly this multi-versed instrumental guy. He could play guitar, he could play piano, he could play sax, he could play drums, he could do it all. And I had seen this cat around. He's got really long dreadlocks, and he seemed like a pretty cool guy, and I just felt comfortable around him. So I had started, even before Simple Biscuit People, I was starting to think about doing a band, and I had asked him, hey, you interested in, forming, jamming with me? And he had kind of turned me down a few times, but after this drummer had quit, I ran into him again and I asked him again, and I guess I just caught him at the right time.
Yeah.
And so he came up to my studio, which I had on Ray Street at that time, about 2.5 years ago, and started showing him some of my songs, and he just seemed to be having a good time. So we recruited a guitar player off Craigslist and adopted the name Bristle, which wasn't an easy process because, it's hard to get 3 people all on the same page agreeing on a band name.
Right.
So, and we got our first show. Isaac Arms granted us our first show at Mike and Molly's, the upstairs. And that was exciting. It was exciting to be back on stage after 16 years singing in, my originals. Is one of the greatest joys in life is to be on stage over and singing over a loud PA songs that you wrote. I don't know if you've ever had the experience, but it's just a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, Ghoul Jr. was my first experience getting to do that. The track My Sibella was just something I decided to throw in at the last moment and
sing lead vocals on.
Right.
Yeah, but
fun.
Play drums and sing, and it's something.
I have a new client named Graham Edwards who just moved to Champaign-Urbana from Hollywood, where he was a Grammy Award winning producer working with such acts as Korn and Avril Lavigne. And I was talking to him the other day, and he's expressed a sincere interest to start working with Champaign-Urbana bands. And he wants to get involved with the scene. He's going to continue to produce from his new studio in his home in Southwest Champaign, but he doesn't want to just limit himself to what he's done and what he's known from the West Coast. He moved here to get involved with the local music scene and bring his talents and his contacts to benefit us all here in Champaign-Urbana. And him and I were talking about Earth Analog Studios in Tolono, and he wants to work with Matt in that studio and record with bands. So,
Matt Talbot.
Yeah.
So this guy just kind of landed here like last week, and he's excited about becoming, somebody that is, could potentially be pretty influential, and have a real positive impact on our local music scene here. So excited to meet this guy, and I'm glad I'm his handyman.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I guess speaking of Matt Talbot over at the Loose Cobra, have any of you gone over during their second Sunday songwriter? I don't know. It used to be called the second Sunday Songwriter Snake Pit or something like that.
I've never heard of that of you.
But
I have. Yeah, they just did one this past Sunday that was very successful. I read. I didn't go, but I guess Matt said it was really just a joyful Sunday afternoon.
He played a solo song. Like he played an acoustic and he sang, and it was very personal, and it was very like just him. I'm gonna try to get him on the show to talk about that song. It was great. It was wonderful. Yes. But I mean, what's
hello,
neat
future Matt Talbot on the show.
What was great about it, about that actual event, is it's kind of, if you've been in Loose Cobra, it's kind of a narrow bar with kind of a stage that's not huge and not a big audience area, so you're not necessarily intimidated. And it's a venue that, this event, is set up so that you can, if you're just trying to workshop a new song, if you're like, I want to just try this in front of some new people, you can do that.
Wow, I wish I knew about that before I left. Or it's probably something that just
hopefully it keeps going. But yeah, it's once a month on the second Sunday. So, when are you coming back in June or something, or at least
Christmas
over
break.
Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas break. We'll see.
Hopefully,
so
they'll
you
have
went
one.
Sunday and saw him perform that song.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like I didn't do anything, but if you want to be like congratulatory about that, that's cool. No,
just the fact that you were there. Yeah,
I was there. No,
did you perform?
No. I've gotten as close as
I was also wondering that.
having my acoustic there, but then I was just like, no, that's all right. Think about bands like Nectar, where it was Camila that was just doing these things as a solo, and then it built up to having a full
Sean
band.
too with Single Player. I mean, his first release was just him and an acoustic guitar.
Right.
I remember the song was I have 3 words, it's all in my mind, and that was just such a hit song to me. And then the next one, I think it was just him and electric, and next thing you know, he's recording with a full band and on tour with a full band.
Yeah, they played at Svenstock last year. Yeah, and that was a good.
When is the next Svenstock? Are you going to do something before winter?
No. I do
annual?
it. It's annually. It's on the first. No, it's annually.
Okay.
On the first Saturday of August. So I think that's August 3rd or something like that.
Is it always? Does it always evolve around girls rock, or was that just your theme this year?
So every other year I do it for Immerman Angels, which is who I fundraise for all the time. Not exclusively, that's the wrong phrase, but it's the one that I fundraise for all the time, consistently through every year,
especially through his running.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
When I did the 4K. Our service day in Chicago was at Immerman Angels, and that was great. They were so wonderful.
Really?
Yeah. Our service day, we got to help out with the they do a breakfast 5K.
Yes, the brunch run.
Yeah, the brunch run. That's right. Yep. Yeah, we got to help set up the packages for that.
Oh yeah,
and they were great. We talked to the founder. And just the head staff members, and they were just so cool to us. And they're like, if you guys ever need like an internship or something, and you're in Chicago, just hit us up.
That's great.
Wow.
So
and that's the 4K running. Is what you
through the Almond Cancer Fund for young adults.
Wow.
Yeah, that was back in the summer of 2016.
Wow. And are you still doing?
Fundraising?
Yeah, working with them at all?
I mean, like once you do the 4K, I mean, you're a 4K alum for life, and it's definitely like a community we stick with. We have a Facebook group called 4Couch. So because every year there's a new team, and there's also a bike team too. And so since we're all scattered across the country, it's like if you ever need a place to sleep on, because the thing was when we were traveling across the country doing the run or the bike ride, that's, we would just be sleeping in our sleeping bags on someone's floor or church pews.
Yeah.
Whoever would host them.
Right.
But I remember, like, that was my first impression of Herman Angels, and I feel like that year I think I only knew that you were involved with that and at that level, and I'm like, oh man, yeah, Herman Angels.
That's wild. Yeah, no, I haven't told this story yet on the podcast, but during This Is a Stick Up,
Once Upon a Time.
Yes, Once Upon a Time. During the This Is a Stick Up show, I looked over, and to the side of the stage, on our deck, there was a group dancing a little bit and moving around, and I asked our sound guy, Jordan, I said, well, what's that about? Why aren't they up front? He's like, oh, well, they wanted to be backstage. That was their thing. And it just made me laugh because I was like, oh, Jordan, that's just beautiful. And I was like, it made me so happy because
I was up there, so I was glad you were okay with that.
Oh yeah, no, it's fun. I mean,
and speaking of Jordan,
I try to make sure all the chords are out of the way, so there's nothing anybody could do up there that would disturb the thing. But it was beautiful.
It was very free flowing too. Like you just like, oh, you can just go wherever, very chilled vibe.
No, I just thought Jordan did a really, really nice job on sound that day.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Very
every band had a nice mix, and that's not always the case at live performances. So if you have a guy that kind of knows what he's doing, and he proved to me that he does. He's one of the better sound men in town. I
like to say that Sven stock happens and works well in spite of me, but because I have people in my life like Jordan that will be supportive and always saying like, where do you need me? What do you need me to do? What do I need to do to help this get off the ground?
Support a good cause.
And he's also very helpful with. I also put on a show at Exile on Main Street called Give a Little, and I do that in October.
Cool Junior played
February.
That, right?
Yes, they did.
That's right.
Yes, they did. And that was for the Jubilee Cafe, and that was in February.
Jubilee Cafe across from Cafe Espresso on John Street.
Something. Yeah, it's 6th and Daniel.
Okay, 6th and Daniel. Right, because
it's in the basement of the CUCC.
Ben, are you a parent at this point?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I got to tell you, if you're ever lucky enough to be a father, one of the greatest joys in parenthood is watching your children participate in anything, whether it's athletics or with Reis, it was both athletics, his running, his cross country and track and field. And going to see them perform, in my case, performing in bands, it just doesn't get any better than that. Wow. It's great watching your kids perform at anything.
And I feel like a lot of kids, a lot of kids too at that age would always kind of be like embarrassed of having their parents there. But I mean, I thought it was cool that he came out to support me, and I mean, like everyone else thought it was even cooler.
That's great.
For the most part, his friends liked having me around.
Yeah. Maybe it's because he he was able to get along with them well. Still a child at heart. He is
amazing.
I love playing with Reis. His drumming style he just brings so much energy. I think he has very tasteful licks. He doesn't overplay, but he's not a boring drummer either. He knows when to accent and when to show his chops. But then he's in the pocket when you need him to be in the pocket. So he's a talented little guy. I think that, he's
just a boy.
He's so young. I mean, seriously, he can take his career wherever he wants it to. And he's got a long life ahead of him.
That's amazing.
So
it'd be great.
I'm excited about his future.
Having a party in my
I do want to just finish up about Bristle because we are putting out a new record.
Yeah.
We're 2.5 years into the band, and we started recording this thing with Caleb Means in his home studio in his basement on John Street. I hadn't worked with Caleb, but I got to say the guy's an incredible sound engineer. We're really, really pleased, and I found him super fun and easy to work with. He has a lot of great suggestions, but he's not pushy. It took a while. By the time we got the artwork done and everything mastered, and today is the day. Just coincidentally, today is when the FedEx truck rolled up and dropped off 100 CDs on my front steps.
Oh, man.
So as of today, I haven't done a whole lot of promoting, but the Bristle CD is out. The one sad part about it is that I don't really have a full working band to promote the album. We're working with Don King from Terminus Victor. He's done a few shows, 3 shows with us over the last month and a half. He's an incredibly busy guy. He's also in 3 or 4 bands. So it's been a little challenging. We're getting together a record release party at the Cowboy Monkey, but without having a guitar player that's on board and has the time, it's difficult to book shows.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of something I'm trying to work through, but we're real proud of the record. We're excited that it's coming out, and we are going to be publicizing it and doing a little bit more to make sure people have an opportunity to listen to the record.
It is very good.
Thank you, Reis.
Excellent. So, what's the name of the album? Did you say?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the album is called On Tap.
On Tap.
I'm mad at myself for leaving our home without bringing a copy to you, Sven. I will definitely get you a copy.
I'll just show up at your show and buy one then.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
Well, actually, the first 100 copies are free.
What?
The first 100 copies of my CD will be given away.
Oh.
Yes.
Well.
So you will get one.
All
you will
right.
not have to pay for it.
Oh,
just gotta be the first 100.
That'll be the first 100, and then I'll probably order 100 more, and I will sell them for most likely $10 each.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Champaign is Also a Band podcast.
Thank you for listening to Champaign is Also a Band podcast.
This is Reis reminding you.
This is Styx reminding you.
Great music is out there.
Great music is out there. Go find it where you live.
Hi. Do you like inane babble? Do you like wasting lots of time? Well, Damien Duffy After Dark podcast might just be right up your alley. Brought to you by Blue Box Studio.
You did 5, 4, 3, 1, 2. That's confusing. Wait, yeah, there we go. Okay, so you want me to bunt. Got it.
Bunt.
Because it's hand gestures that no one can see.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, let's get ready. We're going to do the commercial. I'm going to do it right now. You ready? Here we go. Do you hate yourself? Do you wish you felt like you weren't a piece of shit? Listen to Damien Duffy After Dark and learn that there are people dumber than you. Damien Duffy After Dark.
After Dark.
After Dark.
Like an adrenaline shot for your self-esteem.